back to our channel. Welcome back to the Viks. It's been a while. It's been a minute. But you know, I'm so tired of making explanations about why I haven't been recording. But you know, when I do come back and record, I always bring you the great content. So guys, today I'm actually sitting with a very good friend of mine, Nonkululeko Zondo. I've actually never said your full name. I always say Nonku, but I'm sitting with Nonkululeko Zondo. And where do we even start? I don't even know where to start. And I say that because, like, before my videos, I practice. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna introduce this person?
Yeah,
you know, fella John. And I remember even when I was doing video yakaraba, I was like, what am I gonna say about her? And then today I had the same feeling. And I thought, what am I gonna say about Nonku? And I'm like, there's so much to say. And you guys will understand what I mean when I say there's so much to say. And before we even go far, my friend, I remember the first time I met you. I
made training.
Friend, it wasn't CA training. The first time I met you was, when I remember, it was at the Concord. When I was at the Concord.
Yes. We were going to a concert.
Yes, and then you came. And then I can't remember what happened, man, but you were there. And I remember us having a conversation, and that's when I found out we were the CA rep, right? And I was still at the Concord, but coming back.
But we were coming back.
Yeah, I was coming back to Bowmans. Yeah. So that's when I met the first set of my new group, because obviously I had moved to another group. But that's when I met you, and I was like, oh, this girl was home. And I just remember the first time I met you, you were talking about listen to the little goals, little dreams, and they can only achieve. And you didn't even know me, you know. But yeah, guys, I think that's the kind of person that you're gonna see in this video today. And I don't want to mention why I'm saying that, but you'll see. I'm so excited
now.
But I'm so excited for this video. And I want to just get into why I'm doing a video with you. I think that's why I take so long to do videos, actually. Just a brief explanation of why I take so long. Like, I always consider, okay, what if people ask me? And who do I think is going to be the best person to answer those questions, right? And the first thing I even said to you before we spoke about the video was, Tommy, have you ever been on a bursary? Because I was so tired of answering bursary questions, guys. Because I'm just like, people will ask me, Teddy, and I always say, it's so difficult. I don't know. Now I really, really struggle to get a low bursary. All the bursaries were for engineering, science, medicine, those ones, you know. And when you came to low bursaries, it was like zero. Very, very few. Like exactly zero, you know. And so I asked Nonku, I remember you were talking about Ellen Gray at some point. Yes. And I was like, wait, how did you go to law school, right? Yeah. But let's step back a little bit before we even get there. Okay. I want us to talk about your journey of saying, okay, I want to be a lawyer, and I'm going to do that at UCT. And the reason why I say UCT is because when I wanted to be a lawyer, I wanted to go to UCT. And then I looked on the UCT website. Yeah. And I was like, this is not going to work for me. Fees-wise, I know this university. It's expensive. No, it's pricey. It's very, very expensive. And so that's how I eliminated it off my list, because I was like, I am not going to be able to afford it. So I want to ask you, when you were considering law school, considering where you want to go, what you want to study, how did you get to the UCT place? Like to saying, I want to go to UCT and I'm going to be able to afford this. Yeah.
So I think for me it really started in grade 10, grade 11.
You can't fail. You already think you're university.
I'm just in general a person who think I hate.
Yeah, I know, we know.
Yeah. So grade 9, grade 10, they now make us choose subjects, right? Yes. And at the time, my late aunt was doing her article. Was she doing her article? She was an associate. She was an associate at Weber's. And we were talking, and we have very similar personalities with my aunt, with my late aunt. We had very similar personalities, and we were just and she was like, you're very good at science, but you're also good at maths. Why do you want to do law? Like, what is it? Because I mean, it's like, you have so many options. You have so many more options. Why do you want to do law? And in my mind, I was always like, the people that changed the country, or well, most of the ones that we remember that have changed the country,
like Nelson Mandela,
Tambo, those guys. That's Kimbo George Bezos. So those were the kinds of especially because I love history. So when we were studying history, I saw Koskolong at least how lawyers at every step were integral to the transformation that was brought about by the country. And even if they weren't necessarily in the front lines, they were the ones doing the technical things, the constitution, Boma Kodesa. You know, each step of our country's history had a lawyer involved, you know, including women's rights and the trade unions. All those types of things were really, you know.
But just pause, guys. How do you know that in grade 10? Like grade 10, I was just like, I want to be a lawyer because it looks like it's a nice girl.
Oh, wow. Okay. Like I used to read everything. So I think my world was expanded by reading. So I knew a lot of things earlier than what one would expect because I was always buried in books. Whether in the history books, the fiction, the non-fiction, the magazines, the newspaper, I was reading everything. So, you know, I guess maybe in my being a child, I just noticed that pattern. Every key moment in history. Maybe the lawyer, maybe the economist here and there, some political figures as well. But I just saw humanities people, surprisingly, despite all the things that are said online, but the humanities, which I think also includes law to some extent, were at the center of shaping how society was and is, you know. And so for me, it was like, okay, great, be this person, you know, at the front lines, because I've always just wanted to change the world, make the world a better place, particularly for women and children.
But it's so funny what you said that I just picked up on. You were good at maths, you were good at science, and people kind of expect you to do the difficult things. You know, when you say you want to be a lawyer or you want to do humanities, they're like, but then it's a waste, you know. And I feel like I can't remember who was speaking about this, but they were saying for this notion of advising humanities is because you couldn't get into anything else. It's so wrong, you know, because it's not true.
It's not true. I mean, my highest marks were physics and like science and maths, but I was like, look, because I was like, I like maths, I like physics, but I'm not connecting with it. And I think another thing that was also helpful for me is my family was very supportive. Like I think I also come from a family that's one has lots of strong women and women who've really just determined their lives for themselves. So they weren't really going to push me in a particular direction because I think on some level they trusted that wait again, we know you. You know, we know what we've put in you as your parents. We know what we've done for you in terms of just like your values, your integrity, your growth. And so whatever decision you make for your life, you know, we'll try and support that even if we don't understand. You know what I mean? So I did everything as a child. Music, science, theater, everything, like
whatever you could get into, you were there.
Sports, hockey, you know, like I was that child that had sports Monday to Friday, and then Saturday it's this, and then Sunday you have to take me to rehearsal. And then, so, you know, as a child I had that room to explore. And when I looked at law, I was like, okay, law, the options.
Which is what I love about this career.
Which is what I love about this career, right? Is that, you know, I can, because I've got a particular skill, you know, as much as law is seen as a profession, law teaches you a certain skill that you can carry over anyway, which is like, you know, the critical thinking, being able to argue, being able to, you know, having advocacy skills. Those kinds of skills can carry you anyway, you know, and the ability to interact with the materials, you know, that are different, even if you don't know, you know, you know where to look, you know where to start, you know your foundations, and that type of thinking, I was like, that's the kind of thinking that I want, especially as someone who sees herself as like a world leader, or like you know, so seeing myself as that person. And then also what was helpful is having that model in my aunt. You know, when I was growing up, when I was in high school, my aunt was in varsity, you know, so I had a first-hand experience of her and her friends, about Bridget, about Leander, who were all at law school at that particular time. And having that exposure was like, okay, you know, and I understand how varsity works, and I see, even from a distance, okay, it wasn't like, you know, because when I got to law school, deflamed. But you know, but having that model, then when it was time for me to make that decision, we had these aptitude tests, and they were all pointing to the fact that I'd be good, or at least have a level of enjoyment in a career that involved people, that involved, you know, thinking type work, that involved writing, and then also the arts. You know? And so it was like, when I did those aptitude tests, those are the things that drove me more than so I'm going to do maths and physics, or I want to be a chartered accountant, so I'm going to do accounting, this and that. I chose my subjects to high school, and that's as early as it starts. I chose my subjects to high school based on my aptitudes, and then you build your career from there, as opposed to wanting to be a particular title and then working to build that title.
And that's so important,
and
right?
like it's so important because also when challenges come, because they come, and I'll probably go into it because it links to my bursary story. But when challenges come, I'll pay more, like I'll pay the matter because there's a picture that you're seeing.
That's
and
so
I think
true.
that picture that I painted of myself, Gilingwana, is the picture that's actually kept me going through all the challenges that I've faced, and the people in my corner have been those people that have kept me going. So, and when we did all of that and we had those conversations, spoke to my aunt, and she was like, okay, great, you want to be a lawyer, but you must be a better lawyer than me, and at the time she had gone to UKZN. She started off in a smaller law firm. I can't remember what it was, but she started off in a smaller law firm in Durban, and then she ended up, working hard and trying to get through, and she ceded her articles to Weber's.
Okay.
And that's how she got into the big five.
Yeah.
The big five universe. And half it, her articles, she stayed at Weber's as an associate, for like 2-3 years. Was promoted to senior associate, and then at senior associate level she came to Bowmans.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Okay. Oh, born a legacy.
Hey,
Two generations.
Come on.
Generational wealthy Tomaja. So so when she when she entered now this world of big law firms, she was like, actually, there's money to be made. Contrary to the Twitter discussion, there's money to be made. But what is key is access, and what is key is network, and what is key is, doing everything early.
Yes.
And I was, I guess, lucky, privileged enough maybe to have those conversations early. So it changed
a conversation that a lot of people don't get to have until you at least get
third
to
year,
but exactly
third year, fourth year.
Yeah.
Even. And to be quite honest with you, if ufitla third year, fourth year, and you haven't thought about your career, it's too late. I don't even want to mince words. In the sense that
I'm glad it's coming from someone else.
But it's not final. I don't know. I don't want to also make it seem like it's impossible. But if you're thinking about law, you need to think about your career from day one. How approach
from the moment you step in.
How can I score? You need to think, okay, what's after this? Because 4 years flies.
It does.
4 years flies.
It does. It's like nothing.
It's nothing. And by the time you try, and I'm sure people who've waited can attest, if you wait, by the time you apply in third year, they've already hired 3-4 years in advance.
No, that's true. True.
And that's how I got articles at Bowmans, because I applied.
So let's just step a little bit back.
Oh, yes.
Let's step a little bit back. So you decided you had that backing from family, right?
From family, and then UCT was just, so everyone in my family who had gone to university went to university in KZN.
Okay.
And when my aunt came into the big five space, she saw the people who were having an easier time with articles, having an easier time with progression, were people who went to Viks or to UCT. And at the time I was like, and then at the time UCT was number one. I think it still is, but it was number one. And so she was like, rather go there and to UCT, even though it's far from home, far from everything and nobody is in Cape Town, rather go there because that will give you the best social capital. And I don't think as Black people we speak about social capital enough, because we think merit alone is enough. Merit is great. You must have merit. Mara, that person who's going to show you actually through that door, that effort you're expending to get into that door, just shift it. Having that person to tell you that. And so my aunt was like, no, UCT is the best. Go there. Study there. And then I looked for bursaries because raised by a single mom. And funding the UCT was the big thing, because my mom was just like, girl.
Seriously.
She was like, girl,
It's the best, but
Girl.
the chalata think the best.
chelete ya teng ya reflectable world whatever, but also because I would be living away from home, it was fees and living arrangements and everything.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so I think, you know, the UCT was clear in my mind. The UCT decision was clear in my mind.
Yeah.
But now, you know, the challenge was
Funding it. Yeah.
Funding,
Yeah.
you know.
And how did you get past that? That's what I want to know.
So
the step-by-step process, because
the
I know
step-by-step process. Uzohleka futhi.
no.
The step-by-step process starts in grade 8.
Now grade 8, I was busy sleeping in class. Whether you were talking about UCT.
No, I wasn't speaking about UCT in grade 8.
But you need to relax.
Get my journey little bursary.
Okay.
Toma. That's
Okay.
So when I went to high school, you know, I was like, okay, get back to high school. And then someone was like, no, you have really good marks.
Yeah.
You know, and you work hard and you know, packaging.
You're that girl.
That girl. What about that girl?
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a thing of, okay, cool. To help ease my mom's burden, and I'm also living with my grandparents, and you know, and I just want us to just have soft life.
Yeah.
You know? In grade 8, I got a scholarship for high school from the school.
I get the excellence. Excellence to grade 8. Okay, scholarship.
So get the scholarship in grade 8. Got grade 10, when we're now choosing subjects, there's a group of like 10 of us in the grade 10 group that get invited. They're like, no, because you guys do maths and physics and you have high marks. There's a new bursary that's come. We think you should apply because it's also got like a leadership component and development and mentorship, and you know, it's helping to build STEM. I think it was called, when we started, it was called the Zenex Foundation.
Okay.
And then they changed it, I think, to Inkanyezi. So through us getting those bursaries, the Ganyezi Foundation also funded like our science lab and funded like the computer, the smart board, to give us access to resources. And so I got on that scholarship. And so because I was always in high school on scholarships and bursaries, it just made sense to me go to high school varsity scholarships.
Obvious.
You know,
yeah.
And my mom had been on their version of NSFAS in the 90s.
Okay.
You know, and she was like, NSFAS is great, it will help you. How after? So, you know, rather try get scholarships first and then supplement NSFAS.
If you have to.
You know. So when we were in grade 11, grade 10, we had a guidance counselor, Mrs. Levine. Mrs. Levine used to have these booklets in her office because she wanted all of us to go as far as we can, as far as we want to. So she had all these booklets in the office. She had 30% university.
Okay.
She used to have like, there used to be like in our LO periods, there used to be a session where we just discuss in grade 12, grade 11, grade 12. We then used to discuss like, what next?
Yeah.
You know, now that you're in the trig, it's a big transition part in your life. What next? And these conversations happen double March, April, when most universities open. And so we were told, apply to every single university that you think of that has your qualification, and then look for bursaries to fund them. So we would apply for things, we would go to her office, we would look at forms, she would help us apply online.
But what you're saying is that also you must be proactive.
You must be proactive.
You can't chill and be like,
no.
Oh, Ishkana.
Yeah,
I need to apply for
that.
You have to be.
You have to be proactive.
Yeah.
And also another thing is time is of the essence. Like you can't do it. You also have to trust yourself, because I know a lot of people that didn't do that in that time were scared of what if you fail a matric, you know. So they were like, no, I'll wait for trials and I'll apply the marks in September, or I'll do this, or I'll do that. And by then it's too late. So the first thing, you need to ask for help. You need to be proactive, even at that level, and then you need to actually like find people in your network that have information, even if they can't help you per se, but they can guide you to the next person. Like I'll always say, my journey is not my own. Like any success that I have, there's like 10, 15 people, you know, behind it, helping me, supporting me. People that I've bothered, you know, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or like,
I wish I knew this when I was in matric.
Bona, it was just that thing because I knew that I wanted to go to UCT. Chelete was in the way, but Chelete was not going to be one of those things that were going to be my obstacle in my life, period. Like, I think it was just a decision I made. Chelete is not going to be an obstacle to my dreams, period. You know, and making that decision meant that I opened my eyes to the ways to get around it or the ways to get through it. You know, so at the time, then, you know, we found out that actually there's a scholarship. Well, it's actually not a scholarship. It's a fellowship.
Okay.
Yes. You know? So yes. I'm going to be very clear, Sham. No, it's a fellowship. You know,
and how did you find out about this fellowship?
Again, my counselor.
Oh, okay.
Right. So again, my counselor, because at that time, you know, we're all looking for scholarships, we're looking for things, we're looking for fellowships. And I think as part of some of the road shows that the Ellen Gray Foundation was doing at the time, I think they had gone to one of the principals' conferences that my principal attended, or Mrs. Pett attended. And when she came back with all that knowledge, all that information, and then they promoted it with us, and then they applied, and then we applied.
Yeah.
And then obviously I got through the processes. There was like a camp, there was interviews, there were all these different things, and I was fortunate to get through to that. What was great about Ellen Gray, firstly, is one, they focus on entrepreneurship, entrepreneurial thinking, and I think I created a lot of that entrepreneurial thinking to the way that I approach my career now, even though I'm not a traditional entrepreneur. So entrepreneurial thinking, they look at obviously academic excellence, also just like your role in the community and like what you do even at your young age of 17 or however old you are. And I think you can also apply for Ellen Gray in your first year at varsity.
Yes,
you
that's
apply at matric, or you apply in your first year of varsity. So, you know, that entrepreneurial thinking, that critical thinking skills, leadership around changing the continent, changing the world. So it just fed into my already existing philosophy that I hadn't found words for as a child. And that like propelled me to say, okay, cool, I can study law. Because Ellen Gray at the time, I don't know if the requirements have changed now, but Ellen Gray at the time was funding every single degree except medicine. So they were funding degrees that were like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
So it was law, economics, engineering, you know, all those kinds of degrees. Anything, you could do anything as long as you could show that that particular degree or that particular discipline was in furtherance of your further goals and your further visions for Southern Africa and the world as a whole.
But it sounds hectic.
It is hectic.
Like it sounds like getting through it is like
but well, when I went there, being the nerdy kid that I am, it was like, yes.
It was like, yes, I want this one.
It was like, this is the one, this is mine, you know. And so it was one of those things where just, I don't know, at the time, my mindset and the fellowship just aligned, you know. And so that's how I got to UCT. And Ellen Gray paid for my fees.
Everything.
They paid for my res. They gave me pocket money. They had the leadership conference. They had mentorship. They really, really invest and invested in the fellows that they take in. And some of their fellows are people who are right now changing the world in their respective
So
spheres.
it's not just about just them giving you money.
No,
it's more than that.
I think from what I can recall when I was still on the fellowship, you know, it's really about removing the barriers to you achieving your dreams. And I think one of the things that the fellowship identified at the time was that, one, education is key to how we're going to change Africa's narrative. But two, there's a barrier, particularly for Black people. It's not just a bursary for Black people, or a fellowship for Black people, but there was that acknowledgement, access to education in this country is a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to take care of that in terms of your school, so you have no stress. The only thing you need to focus on is fulfilling the dreams that you told them you had during the interview phase.
I would have been so relaxed going to university. I feel like, you know, like the feeling of knowing your studies are taken care of. There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. And I was fortunate enough to be on the fellowship until my 3rd year.
And then what happened? And then she's
yeah, that's that. Yeah, Miguel.
Come back to me.
Come back. You know, so I had academic challenges in third year. I failed a few courses, and that led to me having to extend. And obviously, one of the criteria for Allen Gray at the time was maintaining a particular average. I think it was like 65. And I didn't in that year maintain that 65 average because I had failed a few courses, so I lost the bursary.
And then what do you do now? You've lost the bursary? That was just giving you like rest.
Yeah, no. But I think also at the time, and part of it is also, I guess now I'm speaking to like the high achievers.
Yeah.
Right? These moments happen. You know, these moments happen where you're not taking care of your mental health. You're not asking for help. You're just going because you're thinking achievement.
I just need to get the 65.
I just need to get the 65. And, you know, I at the time, I wasn't prepared for the fact that, one, I'm now a grown-up. So I'm not as shielded from the things that were happening at home, around the world, around me. So, you know, those things rocked my mental health. And that was, I think, the first time I was like, whoa, mental health is
it's important.
I need to take care of.
Yeah.
But when that happened, so I lost the bursary.
Yeah.
And I froze.
Yeah.
I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
I froze. I cried for days.
Yeah.
I cried. You know, and my mom was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's talk about what we're going to do next. Right? Because again, I had options, right? It was okay, go back to UCT and finish law. Option 1. Option 2.
But if that was option 1, how were you planning on doing that option 1?
First my mom was like, let's take care of the problem.
Okay.
Fade.
Yeah. That's the bigger problem.
The first one, before school, fade.
And this is coming from someone that's such a high achiever.
Yes.
And it's always been.
And so for my mom, or at least for my family as a whole, it wasn't like, uyaganga, uyagroova, uyapuza. I was, but it wasn't the cause. Like I've been. I know. I don't want to lie. I know. This high achievement is coming with other things.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, for my mom, over and above Tabaya Chalende, it was isolating. As someone who's a high achiever and A-type, if I'm not performing, I'm definitely criticizing myself already for that. I'm already being hard on myself. So it was like, let's help you rationalize through this thought block. Is the problem that you don't want to do law at all? Do you need to maybe finish your English degree? Because I can go UCT. You can do law courses and then you can do the extra subjects, humanities and other faculties.
Okay.
But at the time when I had failed, I had done enough courses that the following year I could go back and finish my English literature degree.
Okay.
And then I could think from there what my next step is.
Yes.
And then the other option was maybe take a break or go to Viks and do something else, maybe start afresh, rethink. You know, so I think what helped in that process was my family was like, let's rethink. Before we even think, Tabaya Chalete, how are you going to go to school?
What's the next step?
Yes. You know, because for them it wasn't, oh, my child's going to be a lawyer. It was, okay, my child failed.
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
Yeah.
You know, there's something
and that
wrong.
support is important.
Because it was also about knowing your child's character. You know, because my mom knew my character and because my family, my grandmother, my aunts, everybody knew my character. It wasn't a thing of, she's just playing around. It wasn't that. It was, she's never been like this.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
So what's the problem?
Yes. And then from there, once I had made the decision, then it was, how are you going to fund it?
And the decision was?
No.
Obviously.
The decision was not The decision was law, partly because I had to do an appeal process, whatever. So then I appealed and then they accepted me to continue with my law degree. And I was like, hey ma, I'm too close to stop.
Yeah.
You know, I'm literally I have 2 courses to carry over, then final year, and then an additional year because our courses are whole year courses.
Yes.
So it was like, okay, cool. I'm going back. How are we going to fund it? Luckily, because when I was at the varsity, I knew that there was a thing called a funding office. And their job is managing scholarships, managing people's fees, managing the bursary, managing NSFAS. And I'm lucky that, excuse me, I'm lucky that I failed at the point that I failed or that I struggled at the point that I struggled. Because had I not gotten a scholarship to get in, I wouldn't have thought of even going.
Where funding office. Yes.
So because I knew there was a funding office, I said to my mom, book me a flight. What I do. Because I knew at the time, I knew that, I think, was it the start of Fees Must Fall? It wasn't yet.
Fees Must Fall was 2016.
2016, yes. It wasn't yet. So I knew at the time, go UCT, that they couldn't automatically kick you out.
Because of fees.
So they give you until July to pay your fees. So it's like, I'm going to go. We'll see July. We'll make a decision July. What's happening? But from January to July, I'm gonna hustle.
Yes.
I'm gonna hustle. I had missed the NSFAS window. I had zero. I had zero when I went back. But I was like, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna see. And I went to the funding office, explained my story, showed them all the documents, showed them everything, and then they were like, okay, sharp. No, it's fine. Appeal on NSFAS, but we can't guarantee you that your appeal will be successful. But appeal. So what happens for UCT is that they don't kick you out if you haven't paid your fees. I'm not saying don't pay your fees.
Yeah.
But the situations are dire. So I knew July is when your first half or whatever of the fees is due.
Yeah.
July it's due, but from July it accrue interest. Then what stops you? Yeah. From July, it accrues interest. I think, like, I can't remember how much it is. 10% per annum? I don't know. So it accrues interest from July.
Yeah.
But you can write all your exams. You can write all your things. The only thing it will stop you from doing is re-registering for the next year.
Yes.
So you can go to school for that year.
Yeah.
With your finances. But you'll have a problem with re-registration.
Yes.
So I told myself, I was like, no, I'm going to go. I'm going to hustle, find the thing, the scholarships, and get the information. And then at the end of the year, what we do, I'll try and work hard so I can apply for more bursaries.
Yes.
Went back to school, appealed, had nothing heard nothing for like 3-4 months. June exams are here. There's still no fees, but I'm like, I'm continuing because at least I'm moving closer. It was like,
exactly, yes.
Yeah, so then I appealed. Then in May, I got word that, okay, NSFAS had approved my appeal.
Okay,
so then from 2014, NSFAS, right? And NSFAS paid for everything. They gave me my book allowance. They gave me everything that they were supposed to give me at the beginning of the year. And I think part of that is also because, remember, semester, people register, people drop out for different reasons. So I think the funding becomes available again, or they have a pool to assess all the people on the waiting list. And they look at their case and they look at the merits of their case. So they looked at the merits of my case and they decided, actually, we can give you NSFAS. And it will fund your thing. Keep going. I go. End of the year, I write my exams. I still struggle with one course. Still struggle with one course. But because of my performance, my NSFAS was converted from a full loan to half bursary, half loan. So I went back despite failing. So it's possible to like even have those circumstances where things don't make sense. But when I go pay, you must never give up on the dream. Because remember, I decided money was not going to be an object.
It was never going to be.
So whatever I was going to do, I was going to do it, but I was going to figure out a way to get the money. The money was going to come to me somehow, some way.
And you just never gave up.
I just couldn't.
You never ever gave up.
Right?
No,
because
don't have that
there's also that thing. I come from a single parent home. My grandparents are getting old. Like I need to also not be a burden. You know. So there's also that thing of I also need to get to a point where I'm independent.
But you know what? And I think this is not. It was not one of the questions I wanted to ask you actually. But now, because of the story that you just told, is that okay? Fine, you had a bursary, you were doing well, then you failed, and then you got dropped off the bursary, and then you went on NAFSAs, and obviously the transcript, right? So my question is, at which point did you apply for Bowmans? And how did you feel confident? But
I forgot that part of the story. I'm busy talking about the money. Okay, so it goes back to starting early.
Yes.
I applied for Bowmans in my first year with my June results.
What?
Yeah, I've had articles since 2012. I've been signed since 2012.
Okay.
Of course. Again, it goes back to, having
so
those
wait, you got
conversations.
that in your first year?
Yeah. I went to VAC work I applied with my first year June results. I went to VAC work in December. Then January, February, I think before schools opened, they invited me to a selection day.
And
I had a number of interviews with people and they were like, great. Kasaina Kafeta, and I've never worried about a job since.
okay,
Do things early.
No,
guys.
all I'm saying is I don't think video A can end. Because I mean first year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it happens now. Like, I don't want to lie.
But that's hazy.
Because I know the recruitment process has changed. Like, people and all those things. But I applied in my first year, went to selection day in the December VAC. Because my plan had been, because also another thing that my mom had told me is that, because she had studied a particular degree, but she ended up not working in that degree's field. Because when she got to work, they were like, where's your experience? Yeah, there's the internship. So I had made a commitment to myself that every single VAC of my undergraduate degree, I'm going to do something.
Sure.
I'm going to volunteer. So in the June VAC of that first year, I worked at an NGO for children's literature. I worked at an NGO for debating, because debating South Africa, it's volunteer work.
Okay.
And then December I was like, so I had told myself, June, because it's long holidays, June I'm gonna go to ENS, then February or December I'm gonna go to Bowmans, then I'm gonna go to so every June and every December, don't sit that 2 months or 1 month. Do something, volunteer in your community, go and do outreach, go and work with the homeless, that's literally what I did for every single VAC of my undergrad. I've never had a VAC where you
just sat at home.
No, there's never been a VAC. Even when I failed, there was never a VAC.
But so, and even when you say that, like, so you were signed, and
so then
you were not worried.
So I was not worried. So here's the thing, right? So I got signed in my first year.
Yeah.
In my second year, third year, I started having doubts about whether or not it was the right thing for me. And I started getting introduced to like management consulting, and I started going to those things, and Bain, McKinsey, all those things, and I was going to the interviews, and I wasn't doing well at those interviews, but I was like, I was trying it out because again I had Bowmans. I was like, okay, sharp, I've got articles. I was applying to other places, other law firms, but I was like, now that I've got Bowmans as well, it's in the top 5. There's very little, apart from like cultural differences, there's not too much difference between the level and the quality of experience you'll get at the law firms. So I figured, actually, since I've got signed with Bowmans, let me explore other things. So I got signed with Bowmans, and when I failed, they were actually the first people I called. I was like, Tabisi. You failed, girl. And I was like, I'll completely understand if you want to take away my article. I understand. And at the time, there was something happening, I can't remember, but the lady I spoke to, and Waity, when I came to Bowmans, she wasn't working here anymore. The lady I spoke to, I was like depressed as all hell at that time, and I was giving up everything that I loved. I stopped singing, I stopped acting, I stopped everything. I called Bowmans, and I said, this is what happened. The lady on the line was like, this is normal.
Sure.
This is normal for third year. Third year is difficult.
Sure.
A lot of our candidates struggle in third year because that's when the real legal stuff begins. Because in first year you do foundations, you do constitutional law, you do succession, you do family law, the foundational types of law that help you understand. Then in third year they ramp it up. So she's like, no, we understand how it is. We understand how it is. She was like, we know how it is. She's like, before you cancel your articles with us, give it a year.
But I get that, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm lost for
Wait again, at some point.
That's what I'm saying. Like in my head, I'm thinking, okay,
it's a higher power.
It's like as much as Akanari, it's normal, but I don't think that they give everybody that chance. They don't
know.
you
And
know.
that lady was apparently a temp, because when I called back a few months later, she wasn't
gone.
working anymore.
I was like, it has to be God.
She was like, I am not taking your name off this list. I refuse. She was like, you are a young black woman. There is no way I'm taking you off that list. When work hard this year, we'll talk when you have to come. I'm gonna move you, because I was supposed to start in 2016. She was like, I'm gonna move you from the 2016
to
list 2017, and we'll talk from there.
Nonku.
God, guys.
I wanna go with him. You've seen the hand of God. No, you really have.
And then I called back, and she wasn't working here anymore.
I think it was an angel. It was probably your angel.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. And she was like, I'm not letting you do that to yourself, because it's hard to get in. And if Ufait is so they've signed a contract with you, they can't breach it. They signed the contract with you. That's not to say failure. Please.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is, at the time, because I was just hysterical when I called, and she was just like, wait.
Just relax.
Give it time. We will move your articles to the next year. We can talk again in a year.
Hey.
So in 2014, I get every VAC I have something to do. That VAC, that December VAC in 2014, I was doing this other program, World Bank, about African mining legislation, and that's where I got introduced to mining and natural resources, and like how it fits into everything. And when I failed, I called the lady, Washington. So I called them. I'm like, are my mom's gonna be a deterrent from me getting this program? And they were like, no. They were like, you've interviewed, you've gone through the door, you've done the program. We can see that you're smart, you can whatever. Do the program. So I did the program from December 2014.
Yes.
To the end of my final year, so around November, December 2016.
So what do you mean? You were doing it as you were in school?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was a training program. Mara, the extramural, guys. Extramurals changed my life. I don't want to lie to you. So it was an extramural type program in the sense that it was a training program. So I definitely was getting the certificates, like study competencies and whatever. But I was learning about mining. I was learning about working in the African continent. I think there were about 26 of us from different universities all over Africa. Maputo, Mozambique. One of my best friends now is someone I met on that program. Mozambique, Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, like any country you can think of in Africa, I worked with someone from there. Morocco, Burkina Faso, Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, everything, you know. And that for me was also the thing that made me think, an international career is possible, Galo. Because all these people are lawyers. All these people are thinking like me, even though we're working in different jurisdictions with different laws. You know, we have a constitution, they have a constitution, slightly different. They have this, they have that. You know, law students will understand. We're common law, mixed jurisdictions, they are civil law jurisdictions. You know, so, but having that commonality of language was like, actually, international career, that's possible. You know, so I did that program for 2 years while still studying. And by then the mining bug had just...
It was there.
It was just like mining, you know, natural resources, all those things. And on the back of that and my participation in that program, I was active in one of the... So when you get to university, you'll understand, there's after varsity, there's a whole lot of people after their first degree that stay. There's master students, there's postgraduate students, there's lecturers, there's visiting researchers, there are fellows, you know. So when I got to that World Bank program, the minimum was 1 master's.
One?
Everyone, they had at least 1 master's, because everyone was like, so what are you doing after your LLB? Are you going to tell me that you're going to sit at your LLB? And that's it. It's nice to be a South African. You just need 1 degree to succeed.
You lie.
It's nice. Everyone on that program, whether it was the facilitators or whether it was the people I was working with, had a minimum of 1 master's. 1 master's from their home country, 1 master's from the UK or from the US. You know how our African brothers and sisters are education. They go to school. You know, so having been in that environment for 2 years, it didn't make sense for me to get the LLB fella. I was like,
I need to do something.
I'm undereducated. I'm not qualified. So I was like, okay, I need to start thinking maybe masters. How can I do masters? And then, I encountered one of the professors or one of the lecturers at UCT that was heading up or working with that World Bank project, had a research unit. And so, because money is always a thing, I was working part-time for her as a researcher, along with a few other students. Then at the end of the year, they were like, oh, by the way, we're creating a bursary for Batubaba specializing in mining and energy and minerals, and it's brand new.
If you say you've never seen God, I will say you're lying.
Guys, no, my life is ordered. I don't like, I have plans, but then God is like, okay, shut. So at the end of that year, in my final year, they were like, hey, we're creating a new bursary. I've got the relationship with you. We've been working together for the past 2 years. I know you. I know everything. We've worked together. I know your capacity. I know your skills. Do you want to be part of the bursary? I was invited to apply like that. I mean, obviously, I did go through all the process. Yes. No, I don't wanna make it seem like something. But had it been a normal application process, I wouldn't have qualified because of my marks. The marks. Yeah, for masters, the average, or at least not even for masters. For masters, the average entrance mark is 60. So I qualified to enter for the masters. I don't want that to ever be in this. I made there's a minimum qualification. But for scholarships, it's highly competitive, especially at postgraduate level, because there's not much money available really for postgraduate research. But I thought
that
research in law,
they were, because like universities want people to write and to be researchers and to publish.
But compared to the number of people that want to enter, so remember when you're at postgraduate level, postgraduate is worldwide. I taught nearly undergrad where it's like the international students have to meet certain criteria and certain bursaries are ring-fenced for international students. At postgraduate level, the whole world is your competition. Anyone from anywhere in the world can come in and say, "There's a master's for UCT with this professor," and there's nothing you can do about it except compete on your merit as well. So, that's how I got in, and she invited me to apply for the scholarship. And because of my experiences in that 2-year program and all the work that I had been doing with her, I was able to get in, and I started doing masters. But I will differentiate masters by coursework, where you do actual classes and you go to classes and you have a half thesis or a thesis that you write in a semester, has even less funding. Because that's seen as a professional master's. So the target market for that type of master's is usually people that work, which is why you won't find a lot of scholarships. That's not to say I work. But when I'm speaking about scholarships in postgrad, it's really about being a research master's. Because the research master's really also prepares you for PhD. But in my mind, I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do my master's for a year.
So you did your master's in what, 2017?
So I did my master's in 2017.
While you were a CA?
No. I hadn't started articles. So I had started it full time, but I just wasn't making progress.
When did you start articles?
2018, June.
Oh yes. Yeah.
So 2017 I started masters, but remember, before you even start writing the thesis, there's a proposal. So by the end of 2017, I had only I had written my proposal and bits of a first chapter, and I was getting restless. And I was like, I need a new challenge. I need something else. Let me do my articles, because I've been postponing. Because in my final year, I called again. I was like, push me back another year. By then I was speaking to Bushale, and I was like, I've been postponing this thing. Let's make it happen in 2018. So I left my master's in 2017. Well, I left full-time masters.
To do it part-time. Okay.
With articles. Everyone was like, when?
That's what I'm saying. Articles, masters.
You're mad. But I was like, no, I've got my proposal down. I've got a chapter.
I'll make it happen.
So 2017, and that whole time I had been funded as well. So they paid for everything. Accommodation, fees, pocket money, traveling to conferences. I have never traveled more in my life than between 2014 and 2016. I traveled. Well, not internationally, but around the country, around the continent. There was like traveling, so that was great. And so 2018 I start my articles, and I'm still doing masters.
What were you thinking?
I would not recommend. I would not recommend. Honestly speaking, I would not recommend.
But how did you go through that? Like, because I'm doing my masters now, and I'm just like, what were you thinking, sis? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how do you manage masters, and like, you know, when I applied, I was just like, I'll manage. No, I'm seeing flames, guys.
Yeah, no, I saw stars. I think what helped me. And most of my master's progress was really in that 2018 year, because I was lucky enough to be in rotations that had more fixed hours.
Okay.
So I was in project finance construction, which was a small team.
Yeah.
So my bosses also knew that I have my master's to do. So in most cases, we wouldn't work later than Bowmans 6 hours.
Okay.
Then from there, I went to litigation. Litigation at the worst, like if you're having a bad night in commercial litigation, you're finishing at 7 during the week, or if you have like an urgent, you're working overnight. But at least, you know, regarding weekends, unless there's something emergency that happens,
you can work on your masters. Yeah.
So I was working on weekends. I was working every morning, so I used to get to work at 5 a.m. I got to work at 5 a.m. Most of my team got in at 8:30, 9.
Yeah.
So from 5 a.m. to 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm writing for 4 hours, or I'm reading for 4 hours. 6:30, chaisa, take a break for 30 minutes. 7 o'clock, I'm in the library until midnight. Right until midnight. Drive.
No, I'm playing with my masters. Eh?
Drive, and then at midnight, drive home. Sleep for 4 or 5 hours. Wake up again. But obviously, I wasn't doing it every day. But at least I was doing it. I was doing it 2 or 3 times during the week, and then on the weekend I would work all day Saturday here. So I would come here at 8 o'clock on weekends, 8 o'clock in the morning, work until 8 o'clock in the evening. Sunday, come in at lunchtime, work until 6 p.m., then go home. So by the end of 2018, I had finished most of my manuscript. 2019, in my second year of articles, I was now in M&A, which is where I ended up staying, and it was just busy. Busy. So my progress slowed down, but I kept writing. There were a few bits and pieces left. June, I submit to my supervisor. I'm like, woo! Off my plate, gone. I'm free. She's gonna mark it, or she's gonna give me feedback. We're gonna amend. We're gonna submit for graduation.
Wait, this is the part I want to talk about. This is the part I want to discuss. I want to discuss this part.
I had submitted my thesis, I think, June. So submitted my thesis end of May, June. My supervisor takes about 2-3 weeks to read it. Then she calls me. Hi, do you have a few minutes? Yeah, is there a problem with manuscript? You know, what are my changes? So I'm thinking, the comment. She's like, so I was having a look at your thesis, and I think it meets the criteria to be a PhD.
What?
And you've been working on it for over a year now. And I think, you know, the ideas that you're presenting in the thesis are original, because that's one of the criteria for PhD. It has to be like original scholarship or like new knowledge. Basically, when you do a PhD, it's not about school, it's about the production of knowledge. It's not about necessarily passing, failing, even though you can pass or fail, but it's really about producing knowledge. And she's like, I think you can upgrade this to a PhD.
But when she's saying that on the phone, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done with school. In my mind, I'm like, I want to make money. I want to enjoy. I want to live a soft life. I want to be with my friends. I want to, you know. And I was just like, this is not the opportunity that you're making it sound like, you know. And she's like, you know, I'm happy to support your application to upgrade to PhD. You would effectively be skipping masters, and so you won't have a master's, so you'll just have a PhD qualification, you know. And I was like, please give me time to think, because this was not in the plan. And another thing for me is I didn't want all my qualifications to be from South Africa. My goal had always been LLB, maybe LLM, and then an overseas master's or an overseas PhD. So in my mind, I'm like, Harvard,
yes,
Oxford,
yes,
you know, and I'm like, ish, this is not what I want, you know.
But I mean, I've never actually heard someone actually like, I don't know if they do. Maybe you know about it, but like I've never heard someone transferring.
There've been a few.
Yeah, a few. But like,
I know.
I say come in, show me. I say like every day, what's about transfer? Like when I remember the first time I heard it from Sheila.
Yeah.
Oh, English
trade, little English.
No, he was like, yes,
Little
you got English. And I was like, huh? What did she say? He's like, yeah, no, you know, the PhD. I'm like, but Nonku's doing her master's. Is she now doing a PhD? I was so confused.
No. So then she's
but
like,
that's excellent. I'm sorry. Like I don't know if you don't like get it for yourself. if my degree was transferred to a PhD, listen, that's all I'm saying. Now did my job. I'm excellent once. Why? No, but that's excellent. That's not even. It's like, but do you comprehend? Like what happened?
Not yet. I think the thing with me and my achievements, I just keep moving.
But you see, that's my problem. And I say that, and I say that because I feel like I also do that.
Yeah.
It's that thing of, maybe I'm saying this now because I remember Nekena the interview with Tebello, and I mentioned something in passing, and she's like, "Wait, Amanyana, what are you saying?" You know, and she was talking about how black people, black women, you don't actually sit and be like, "Till you're doing well for yourself." Oh no, you've done well, you know, because you're always like, yo, next achievement, next. But actually, no, let's live in the reality of the achievement now. And I think it's with everything in life, friend. You know, whatever you want, you achieve it and you move on. You don't actually live in, okay, God, I asked for a car, I asked for a house, I have it. You know, let me live in that reality of I've achieved this and I should be proud, you know.
I think it stems from, and I'm doing a lot of work on this with my therapist, but it also stems from self-esteem or like self-belief. There's an inherent belief that whether you acknowledge it or not, when you're so focused on achieving, I'm not diagnosing anyone, but this is what was said about me or to me, is that I'm using those achievements to like make myself feel like I'm worthy, whereas I'm worthy as I am. So without those things, and I feel like as Black women, we need to sit in that, because I don't think we sit in that enough.
We don't.
Because if you look at it, we're almost at the bottom of the ladder. Funali, white men, white women, Black women. I mean, no, Black men, Black women, and Black also including like Indian color.
Yes,
Black men. You know, there's that progression, and at the bottom of that totem is, whether we acknowledge it or not, is women, is Black women, and so being in that space, I think when you enter high achieving spaces, you sometimes enter thinking you're not enough, so you need to go the extra mile to show that actually you need a seat at the table. Kandi, you deserve that seat, uliso, you know, as you are. If the minimum requirement to enter that room is an LLB, and you have an LLB, it's enough. Now sit down, feel comfortable.
But we never feel like that.
You have to take up space. You know, so I think I'm still working on that. I'm still working on sitting in those achievements. I'm still, you know, when someone talks about PhD, I'm still like, oh, I'm still fixing that chapter. There's this that I still need to do. I mean, celebrate it, but like, ish. Yeah, great, thank you. You know, and it's getting weird because people are also now like calling me doctor and all those things, and you're like, yo, you mean, okay, you know. But like, we need to just to just acknowledge that, sit in that. You know, you're doing great. You're doing great.
Sis, you really, really are. You know. And I live in that, you know. So this is, then they talk about the conversion. Okay.
So they talk about the conversion, right? Again, I can't keep 25-year, 10-year plan.
Yeah.
So I go back, you know, I'm like, look, can I please think about this? I need some time because this was not in the plan. Articles are ending soon. I'm about to start being an associate. I don't want to go into my associate career with this thing, with this thesis sitting on my shoulders, you know. Let me think about it. So I take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I consult everyone that I could possibly consult. I speak to my mom, I speak to my grandma, I speak to my career mentors, I speak to, you know, Sheila, I speak, like I get not necessarily validation, but just from people who look at my life from the outside in. You know, I ask them, you know, what's the thing? And one person was like to me, have you ever thought about having a PhD? And I was like, yeah, but I told myself it was something that I would do like when I'm about to have children, so that I can just take the gap and then be with my kids and be an academic and you know, and relish that so that I have time for my kids. And my friend was like, so what's the difference between moving the timeline and you know, doing it now when you have the opportunity now? What if you want to do other things when you're 30 or 40 years old? You know, what if you want to do more and you want to actually be in business or be in practice? So take the opportunity now. You won't lose anything by it. You're halfway there because the master's thesis is 40,000 and PhD is 80.
Right? No, that's it. They can get a PhD now. Now I'm
PhD is 80. You know, and so they're like, you're halfway there. You know, because if you leave now, if you finish this master's, you finish the master's, great. But when you start your PhD again, you have to start from word number one. Whereas here you've got a developed concept, you've got ideas, you've got resources. You've now had a year, 2 years in practice, so you can add a commercial element and like a practice element to your work, to your existing work. And a PhD is not the end. You know, PhD is not the be all and end all of your scholarship, as a scholarship in the sense of your knowledge making. It's not the pinnacle, it's actually when you start. And so if you delay that start thinking that it's an end goal, you'll get there, you'll do it, and then you'll find actually there's so much more I still don't know. You know, so that person was like, do it, it won't hurt.
And you went in.
And I called my supervisor the next day. I was like, let's do it. And by July I had deregistered from my master's and re-registered as a PhD student. And now I'm at the tail end of that, I hope. Oh my God.
No, you are.
I'm at the tail end of the PhD. How many years later? 2.5, 3 years later?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm at the end.
I'm
at the end. And now I feel like my career, like I finally feel like my career is falling into place. Like with all of that, with the PhD, even if there's things there, but with the PhD, with practice, with the areas of specialization that I've chosen, I finally feel like, okay, I can see where this is going. I can see where this is going.
And if you had to look back with the PhD decision, because it was such a difficult decision,
it was.
Would you do it again?
No.
Huh?
No.
Why?
No, I wouldn't. Look, it's one of those once in a lifetime things. Like, shucks. Okay, I'm gonna jump. It's like, you know, bungee jumping. We regret it more fast. But when you get to the bottom, you're like, yo, people that do this are mad. So I feel like it's like bungee jumping. Like it was great that I did it, but given the opportunity to go back and do it again, I wouldn't have.
Why?
I think one, it took a toll on my personal relationships because, you know, initially with the articles, it was fine to work the way that I was working with the morning sessions and the night sessions and the weekend sessions, because as a CA, the expectation there is that out of social data bundles, you know, and I find that because I was doing the PhD process, it ate up so much of my mental capacity, my emotional capacity, and actually my physical capacity, because I haven't been able to really be there for the people that matter to me, because even if I'm there, my mind is not always there. Secondly, I think in terms of my day-to-day work as an associate, I've had to like always choose, am I choosing the academics or am I choosing work? You know, and so there's been that thing, and I think it happens to people who are like me, who are what they call like polymaths or multi-potentialized, people who like to do a lot of different things at a high level. There's a sacrifice in depth that you make when you do multiple things at the same time. And looking back, yes, it's great that I'm going to be doctor, and it's great that that PhD has opened up many windows of opportunity. It's great, but I don't know if that price was worth it. Like, I've missed family things. I've, not really been there for my friends. And, people think that that's not important in the grand scheme of things, but that's how you make a life. Bupilo is not PhD. Bupilo is not your job.
It's the people that you have around you.
It's the people that you have around you. It's your family, it's your friends. And, I'm grateful that I still have friends, that get it. And they get it when I'm moody. And they get it when I'm crying all the time. And they get it when I reach out to them twice every 3 months. They get it and they appreciate it. And I appreciate them so much. But it's taken a lot. And I have the utmost respect for people that do it even on a full-time basis, because there's a lot of grappling with imposter syndrome, imposter syndrome like you won't believe, because there comes a point in your PhD where you know more than your supervisor, and she doesn't know how to advise you because you're a specialist now in that field. And it's like, but do I know enough? Have I read enough? Have I written enough? I need to read 500 books. I actually think that this is not right. And there's that questioning, and it takes an emotional toll.
It sounds like it's an emotional roller coaster.
It is an emotional roller coaster. But I think it's at this point for me now, the thing that's at least motivating me to try and not try, but to get it to the finish line is that self-fulfillment, that actualization. And I think also for me, it's the reward for that that 21-year-old who failed in 2014.
Yeah.
Just to say, Mugele, you actually still have the chops.
Sure.
You still have the academic chops, Mugele.
Sure.
You are the girl, and so for me, that's actually what's keeping me going, is that I'm doing it for that girl that I was, that, after that experience doubted her abilities and doubted her capacity and doubted her thinking and her thought. And I've always been that person who plays on my mind. Like, if there's one thing, people will say, but one thing that I think is beautiful is a person's mind. And that for me was like the thing that was like, I need to restore that integrity to my mind, to my intellect.
You know that the saying, ladies and gentlemen, her. I feel like that's the moment. Yo, this was beautiful. Oh my God. Like, in my head, like I kind of imagined how this interview would go.
Yeah.
But it just went like, it was like 10 times better than that. Like, this was amazing.
Thank you, Chubby.
You guys, like I'm already just thinking about the comments I'm gonna get. You always deliver. And then, like, honestly, this was absolutely incredible. And I feel like I've learned so much about you in this interview just alone. But guys, as you know what, drops mic. We can end the video. Actually, we are ending the video. Thank you so much for Nonku for just telling your story in the most beautiful way. And I really hope that someone out there that is maybe whatever position you are in your life right now, whether you are repeating a subject and you're doubting, is this law thing even for me, or is this career, whatever career you're in, I hope Nonku's story just reminds you that, honey, that little girl, one day you're gonna look back at her and be like, you did the things, you did the things. Thank you so much, my friend. Guys, thank you so much for watching once again. And I will put Nonku's details if you want to ask her any further questions. Let us go Instagram. Let us go Twitter. I think, yes. I'll
YouTube for my
upline. So I'm going to put all her details up for anyone that has questions, whether it's about PhD, whether it's about whatever. I'll put her details up. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe,
share,
comment, everything. Engage. Thank you guys. I love you so much. And wow, what a beautiful interview. Goodbye. Bye.